Hey guys, it's your coach Katelyn here, and I have a pretty funny story for you guys today. And I think the moral of the story will absolutely apply to your lives too, because it applies to lots of things in my life now. So, as you can see, I am wearing my South Park Track Club jersey. And the fact that it says track club means it wasn't with our high school team, it was through our community track program, which means this was actually middle school, because I think I ran track club in fifth, sixth, and eighth grade. So I found this at my parents' house yesterday when I was going through a bunch of old clothes to give away, and I was surprised I even had this, and it brought back just all kinds of old memories for me. And one of the stories I wanted to tell you was about was something that happened that I was really proud of myself in track, but I will tell you kind of the rocky start I had at first. So when I first started running community track, I was totally dramatic about how hard I thought it was. I remember thinking the 1 or 2 lap warm-up was really hard. And I will never forget the day that my friend Dave Marisik had joined the track team, and he had been playing soccer for years. So this guy was more than capable of running a lap or 2, but I didn't know that. So I was telling him all about how tough the warm up was, and just wait till the second lap. It's really going to get you. So just to give you an idea, that was my starting point. That was where I was coming from at the time. Because when you start running, a lap or 2 is hard. That's a big deal. So anyways, depending on where you're at, maybe you can relate. So what I wanted to tell you, though, was a few years later, or at some point during one of the seasons that I ran, my friend Eileen Smith and I were running an Indian mile. And what an Indian mile was basically you ran in a line, and I think we started with maybe 10 or 15 people. And as you passed a baton to the front of the line, you passed a baton back through the line to the person behind you. And when it got to the person in the back, that person had to sprint all the way up to the front of the line and start over. So it was basically just a long, slow, and steady jog with these quick little sprints mixed in when it got to be your turn to run the baton to the front of the line. So I think we had to complete maybe a mile or so. Doing it together is what we were supposed to do to finish out our practice that day. And then it was kind of like one of those things where just people kept dropping off with whatever they were capable of. So I remember making it to a mile, and me and Eileen and a few other people kept going. We felt good, and we felt like, hey, why not just try giving this another lap? Why not? And so by the time we got a few more laps in, I think it was just me, Eileen, and a guy named Mike Mans, who was actually a really good runner and maybe 5 or so years older than us. So I was feeling pretty good about myself at this point. And now it became like a challenge, like how far can I go? So I remember that was my first time ever running 2 solid miles. And it blew me away because I had no idea I could do it. I don't think I'd ever run more than a mile. And I just remember that day, it was so hot and the sun was beating down on us and we're sweating. And I remember me, Eileen, and Mike were hardly even talking. It was just pass the baton, run. And I was so focused on just one step after another just to see how far I could go. Because I knew I could quit at any time, but I really wanted to see what I was capable of. And I just kept going. And I think I just blew myself away with not even realizing that I was capable of this. And here I was, I just finished my first 2 miles. So it was a pretty cool day for me, especially with my starting point being thinking our 2 lap warm up was tough. So hopefully you get a kick out of that story. But what was cool was after that, when I got to high school, Eileen had convinced me to do cross country, which I didn't really know what that was at the time. And I remember her telling me, oh, don't worry about it. It's just like track. Well, it's not just like track, because I didn't know that each race was 3.1 miles, was a 5K. So I didn't even know what I was getting myself into when she had convinced me to do it with her. And so when I first started running cross country, it was the same thing. I kept surprising myself with beating my expectations of what I was or what was capable of doing. And I by no means was the fastest person on the team, but it was just cool to see each of these barriers that I had set for myself being broken down, and all these glass ceilings that I thought I had, just breaking through those. So by the end of the first season, I remember our longest run was 7 or 8 miles. So it was cool to see how, even though I hadn't trusted the process, even though I thought that maybe these running training plans can work for other people, but maybe I'm not dedicated enough, or maybe I can't keep up, or all these things that I thought, just putting one foot in front of the other and continuing to try. So in my adult life, I've run a couple marathons and a bunch of half marathons. So you never know what you're capable of. And trust me, I'm not somebody who is the fastest person or who was ever the best runner. I'm still not. But it's more about beating what you yourself think you're capable of. So how does this apply today? Well, for when I start a new workout program. So with the Beachbody workout programs, all of them come with a calendar. We have some that are 21 days, we have some that are 60 days, we have some that are 90 days, all these different lengths. And when I start out doing them, they can be intimidating when you look at a calendar, especially one of the longer ones. But I think it's easier to chunk it down and just put one foot in front of the other, one lap at a time, one day at a time, one workout at a time, and go through just with the mentality of seeing what you're capable of. You don't have to make this big, huge, overwhelming ordeal that you have to finish this program, but why not see what you're capable of? Because we're always capable of more than we think we are. And I've had the same experience in the Beachbody coaching business as well. Because when I first started, I loved the concept of it. I loved the idea of helping people. And I loved the idea of starting something that I would be able to, help more and more and more people and reach more people. And to me, it was just, I loved the concept. It was fun. I wanted to do it because I wanted to help people. But I didn't know how much money I could make from it. I didn't know if it could become an actual business. And so I remember when my coach Nicole asked if I wanted to do it, I had just said, yeah, maybe I'll try it. I'll see where it can go. I don't have any specific goals with it. I just want to try it, and I think it would be fun. So I was doing it because truly I just loved it. Well, it didn't take me long into it before realizing that maybe I could make more of a business out of it. And at the time, not everybody knows this, but at the time I found out that the full-time job that I was working for, the company, I worked for a small medical device startup company, we knew that we were having some funding issues and I might not have a job there within the next year and a half. So there was a little more invested in it for me with the Beachbody coaching business in terms of my mentality of wanting to make it work so that I had this fallback plan if I did lose my job. So that could become discouraging because then anytime throughout the business, especially when I was first starting out, if I had a slow month or I had some disappointments, it translated into this bigger thing of maybe I can't make this a full-time thing. Maybe this will never be a significant business for me. But the cool part was I just kept putting one foot in front of another, and I have proven to myself time and time again what I am capable of. And I'm not saying that I'm any different than anybody else. I just think that I am somebody, like a lot of people, that tends to underestimate what I'm actually capable of. So I have, in fact, been doing this full time for, I think it's been 9 or 10 months now, and it's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm so glad that despite the disappointments, I continued to do it anyway. I didn't say, I could have quit anytime I wanted when it got tough, but I just said, why not continue to see? Why not continue to talk to people? Why not continue to help people and reach out to people? And it was something I loved doing anyway, so there was really no loss there for me, but I'm so glad I saw it through. So I think the moral for me is that it's great to have belief. It is so important to believe in the big picture and what is possible. But I think so often it's hard. We might believe it in our head that it's possible, but in our hearts, at least for me, I tend to believe, okay, it's possible for this person. I remember when I first started coaching, I had been to a picnic where there were other coaches that were doing it full time. And throughout the time, the first year or year and a half that I was trying to build it up to be a full-time business, anytime I would hit a stumbling block or things would get disappointing, I would always start to think, maybe it's possible for these other people. Maybe they're more dedicated than me. Maybe they're more disciplined than me. Maybe they have a better network than I do. All those doubts and fears came rushing in. And so there were a lot of times where I believed in the process and I believed that it worked, but I believed that it worked for every other person and not me. And so I think we often do that. We make ourselves this exception to the rule as if it's somehow not possible for us, even though it's worked for everybody, every other person that's followed the plan. Just like a workout program, just like running. So I think for me, just being able to focus on doing my best to stay positive, doing my best to believe in myself, but more importantly, just keep going, just keep putting one foot in front of another. I remember there was a video that somebody had shared with me early on when I was coaching, that was Art Williams, the Just Do It speech, and it's on YouTube and you can Google it, and he just talks about just do it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And it was a great reminder that every day I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do everything perfectly. I just have to do something. I just have to do that one more lap, see what's possible. And so I'm just so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. So I think another thing that's important for me is I am somebody who I'm not the type of person that says, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. That's never been me. I kind of wish I was one of those people, but I'm not. So I am somebody who is naturally constantly reevaluating my priorities and what's important to me. And so, like, for example, with workout programs, if I start a workout program and I get a few weeks in and I'm just not feeling it, or I'm having trouble sticking to it, or it doesn't seem like my style, a lot of times I do try to push through, but I also give myself permission to stop and maybe reevaluate and maybe try one of our other programs or go back to one of the programs that I know works really well for me. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in that. I think it's okay to constantly be reevaluating our priorities and what's important for us and what's good for us. So for me, anytime I do something in my life, I always kind of give myself the permission to know that I don't necessarily have to follow through if I later on reevaluate and say, hey, this isn't what's most important in my life right now. This isn't what I need to be focusing on. So I think I always did that with running too. So with that Indian mile that I told you about at the beginning of this video, it was important for me to know that I could stop at any time. Because sometimes when I feel like I have to do something and I'm working out of obligation, I lose my inspiration and I lose my excitement and I lose my energy for it. And so it becomes this thing that I'm carrying negative energy towards because I'm dreading doing it. But with the Indian Mile, I knew I could stop at any time. So any step I take, literally every single step was a bonus in my mind. And so that to me excites me and energizes me and inspires me to keep going. And it was the same with the business. I knew I could quit anytime. I knew if I couldn't get it to be a full-time job, I could go out and get another job the next day. That was fine. So I wasn't worried about that, but it was something that was really meaningful to me that I wanted to make work. So every step, every piece of progress, every day that I continued to try my best was a bonus for me. And it did. It all fell into place, and it's been amazing ever since. And so I think, allowing myself to know that I can abandon something that's not working for me, but then reframing it into something that, I can quit, but I'm going to see what's possible. That's just been huge for me. So when I was telling this story to Eileen today, she had reminded me of a story of her younger brother, Alex, who when he first ran his first 800 meter in a race, that he only could get through the one lap, and the crowd cheered him all the way through the second lap to get him through. And then he ended up setting records, running for his college, and going to NCAA Division II national championships twice. So, there's examples all around us of people that maybe had a little bit of a rocky start and then just became capable of so much more. But we're all capable of so much more. It's really just about knowing we have it in us and taking one step at a time. So I encourage you to allow yourself to abandon what's not working, but when it's something that's really meaningful to you, and when it's something that could really pay off in your life and be something that you would be really proud of, or that could have these amazing rewards in your life in terms of financial success, or just in terms of happiness and something you're going to be proud of and feel really good about, and just, you know, create more joy in your life, I strongly encourage you to just go one lap at a time, one day at a time. Wake up in the morning telling yourself, I'm just going to tackle today. And you can do it. I promise you can do it. If I can get through that 2-mile Indian mile after complaining about the 2-lap warm-up, I assure you that you can get through today with whatever you have to get through, because I was stubborn back then. I was kind of a stubborn brat. So the fact that I was able to do it and I was able to break through my barriers for something like that was pretty hard for me, I guarantee you can do it too. So I am cheering for you. Nobody is rooting for you harder than me, and I wish you all the luck and the success in things that are super meaningful to you. So just keep going one lap at a time. Good luck, guys.